Guys, this is our late afternoon report, and what you're looking at is U.S. power outages. Texas just lit up on the map, and it put the total customers out in the U.S. at 770,193. Now, the color code is important. 500,000 plus, or if it's red, you're at 500,000 plus. But in this orange color or peach color, you're at 100,000 to 500,000. So here in Pennsylvania, 123,000. Michigan, 140,000. Check that out. Now, look at this. New Jersey, 68,000. Connecticut, 52. And New York, 61,000. Now, it's less, but these states are just now starting to light up, guys. It's very hot outside, and something's changing very quickly. This coming week, we're about to see high-pressure records break and high-temperature records broken across the entire country. And the reason I'm going here is because we have focused mostly on the desert Southwest for the last few months, talking about people being in trouble, power going out, water shortages, all of those, right? But now I see it spreading much further east. And now the weather models are showing a record high pressure dome setting up over the central U.S. and the southern U.S., guys, hotter than maybe we've ever seen, with some of the most high pressure elevations on record. It's amazing, but guys, we talked about it. Now the attention has to drift from just the Southwest almost globally because it's happening that way. But here in the U.S., as we're speaking, guys, just a few minutes ago, Texas was not lit up, neither was Missouri, and I don't think Ohio was. Now, Georgia, you got 19,000 people out. Here in our state, 10,900. Louisiana, 33,000. Texas, 14. Oklahoma now, 2148. What have I been talking about in the desert Southwest? Under extreme heat, in this type of year, or this part of the year in the summer, guys, the air conditioners are going to be strained and the grid is going to be strained. Now, we got some weather events. Most of this is heat related. In other words, the grid is failing during this heat. Some of you are being prepared. My solar system will handle 2 air conditioners with the TVs and a refrigerator, deep freeze, things like that, the computers. And that's enough to survive. And some of you guys are preparing. It's very wise, but I just want to urge you to go to the next level in your preps. Now, I want to show you some of the weather forecast. Guys, this is today, July 5th. We're going to go through the next week. And with your color coding, guys, here, you'll see it go from the yellows to the reds, dark reds, then lighten up and get into the white and purples here. You're going to see quite a bit of that, and you're already seeing it here. Another thing I want you to notice in the area that's in this light pink is the nighttime cooling is not going to let up on the people or the power grids in that area. But as I move this thing forward, what's going to happen, I'm not going to make it long and drawn out, is the fact that I've said that for the last couple of months that the Southern Rockies, which are the highest, the 14,000 foot peaks, have been bare since early March because of the heat wave. And it has turned them from alpine coolers to thermal radiators. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. But all of this is going to move, and the reason the high pressure is going to be record and the heat is going to be record and the grid downs are going to be record is because as this heat pressure, or high pressure heat dome, moves over into the east, it's not going to leave this area, it's going to spread, is because now instead of what would normally happen, you got a heat dome here, it's going to move east over the Rockies. It moves over high altitude, 14,000 foot plus air conditioning, dropping that pressure, cooling the air. But right now it's thermal radiators. So now as it moves over, guys, it's going to break the record height almost of the high pressure system itself. And what that does is increase the pressure and increase the heat to record highs. This is not going to be fun in any ways. Let's let this move, and I'll show you a little more, but let's play it forward. You'll see the nighttime cooling come in at night, but look at the pressure spreading, guys. There's Texas and Louisiana, Mississippi. Look at the dark colors now. As we go into, this would be July 7th. Notice your timestamp here. Look at that, nighttime cooling going back into these sections. Now remember, we're not seeing any night cooling as it starts back over here in the desert Southwest. So it is the most intense. And the reason we're seeing so many transformers in the Northeast go down, you got high winds and storms, lightning, but the main reason is that grids were not made for this temperature. The way they set these grids up, if you're up north where it's cooler, you don't have to have the same transformers you do down in the south or in the desert. They're not handling it well. And the grids are old in many cases, but look at the spread. Again, as this section comes over the Rockies, now the thermal radiators, just like the mountaintops of the Antarctic, everything's changing. It's changing so fast it's hard to keep up with, and it's becoming very dangerous. Now, let's use all the available sources and put this together. The U.S. Northeast is currently experiencing widespread power outages, primarily due to a combination of severe thunderstorms and a punishing multi-day heat wave out of ABC News. Weather impacts and high demand, violent storms over the 4th of July holiday weekend, severe weather swept from the Midwest into the Northeast. We talked about a lot of parades and events being canceled. The storms generated destructive 70-mile-per-hour winds and lightning, guys. The high winds down tree branches and yanked live wires from their poles, causing physical damage across states like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Because I've been seeing YouTube videos and things and reports that New York has been suffering, I guess you would be either rolling blackouts or selective blackouts, any way you want to put it. But the severe storms were fueled by a massive heat dome that trapped humid, triple-digit temps across the East Coast. Cities like Atlantic City hit record highs of 105. New York City hovered near 100. The soaring temps triggered massive, record-breaking surges in air conditioning use, pushing the electrical grid to its absolute limit, coming from the New York Times. This is what we've been talking about the desert Southwest. Every bit of this. Now, do you realize, looking from the Antarctic to the Arctic to the tops of the Rockies, that it is a global thing? So what you've got to do now, and I'm realizing it at the same time, again, we were focused on that, but now it's a global event. So guys, as we were talking about preparations for people making adjustments in the desert Southwest, even possible migration, I'm seeing here in southern Mississippi a lot of the water wells going dry. A lot of the municipal pumps and the big towers you see are starting to go dry. They're starting to build auxiliary wells, and they are starting to go dry. We're seeing it here. Now, what does that mean? That means that, again, what we've been talking about, water, heat, electricity, is escaped the Southwest and covering the entire planet. What does that mean? That means that now, as you look at preps, what you need to do, because of a lot of these low wells are now heavily polluted, they tell you to boil your water. If you do that, you do get some of the bacteria out, but you leave a sediment of heavy metals. So you'll need a secondary filter like the ones that we have here, like the ones that are on our site at BPEarthWatch. Not an ad. Anyway, I want you to think about that. And what we are planning to do is to get some of we have some rain barrels, but I want to get a larger one that is strictly rainwater because of the pollutants coming from the low underground wells. And even though we know there's aerial pollutants, we still have the evaporation process that cleanses a lot of it, and then filter your rainwater. So there's big tanks. You can look around, find them. Tractor Supply and all. A lot of them are just like for septic tanks or water tanks or whatever. It doesn't matter because you can take it out and filter it. And you need a rain catch. If you start to just fill it up with tap water, unless it's very clear and clean, then you're going to have to filter all of that out again, maybe multiple times, and include bacteria into your tanks. So rainwater may be the best way. Listen now, the severe storms were fueled by massive heat dome again. Atlantic City 105 in New York at 100, and we're not through July and not into August yet. This thing is changing so quickly. I said Mother Nature has no quarter when it starts to change. Make changes that really preserve the planet in the long run. Things have to happen in order to rebalance sometimes the things that man has done. That's why I say that possibly going into a different era that's not a natural change, but does definitely have some man-made attributes. Guys, we've talked about, and I've issued videos for 15 years about different things coming. I've never seen anything this severe, this global, and this fast pace. Never. The energy strain grew so severe that the U.S. Department of Energy issued an emergency alert for the region's largest grid operator, called PJM Interconnection, to manage supply shortages and actively prevent cascading rolling blackouts. Do you see where we're at? And I'm so proud of you guys that are building up your solar power backup. Again, it doesn't take that much compared to a yearly power bill, but what you're really comparing it to is a couple of air conditioners keeping you and your pets alive and your family. It says, again, according to real-time tracking data from power outages, over 800,000 customers have been left in the dark across the impacted regions. The highest concentration outages are as follows. We just looked at that, went through the map. But again, we had storms. Also, you notice when PGM steps in, or PJM, they're talking about rolling blackouts. Why? Because the grid strain. We started this conversation a few months back talking about the older grid system in the desert Southwest, and if you had 24/7 power drains, you never had the nighttime cooling. The transformer systems were too old and they would break down, and there's a massive shortage of transformers. Now we're seeing it spread out like a ripple. Just drop a meteor in the ocean, them waves are going to go to every continent around that ocean. And that's what we're seeing. I'm not trying to over-exaggerate it. I'm trying to let you know the time is here. Again, they're saying this now, that back-to-back 100-degree Fahrenheit days with brutal humidity has hammered the East Coast over the July 4th weekend. Extreme air conditioning demand pushed transformers to the brink, and then severe 70-mile-per-hour thunder squalls physically ripped down the lines. Mother Nature has no quarter. The emergency action, the grid strain, got so severe that the U.S. Department of Energy had to issue Emergency Section 202C. You know what that means? It means all hell is about to break loose. Not really, but anyway, the orders are to bypass normal regulations and force backup generators online just to keep PJM Interconnection Regional Grid from completely collapsing. Guys, do you know what that means? This emergency section 202C, to keep the largest grid in the nation up. Man, if I were you, I'd sell everything I had and I'd get enough solar power where I could keep cool and keep my family cool. I don't care what else. And water. Now, looking at the meteorology on this thing, this high pressure dome coming in, this record, they're saying it's a 597 decameter megadome. What that means, if you translate this, it's 5 8,970 meters above the surface, roughly around 19,000 feet. And usually the highs get around, 550, 560, something like that. But because of the thermal radiator emanating from the top of the Southern Rockies, it's pushed it up even higher. That means increased pressure and increased heat. Guys, and they've added to the term massive the word elite. In 8 days, the massive elite 597 decameter DEM high pressure ridge is modeled to center directly over the central U.S. states and expand east. Now, guys, this puts this high pressure zone, listen, in the top 1% of the most intense high pressure events ever recorded in U.S. history. It represents an incredibly dense, pressurized blanket of sinking air that physically compresses the atmosphere. I hope you're listening. I hope you're preparing. Now, this 597 decameter dome, guys, approaching the Midwestern plains means we're looking at an atmospheric thickness that is, listen, 3 to 4 times standard deviations above normal for mid-July. 3 to 4 times. That's like the scale of a tornado, like the scale of a hurricane. And guys, again, looking at the Rockies, they're, instead of reflecting 90% of solar radiation, they're absorbing 90% of the energy. They're turning into a giant thermal radiator, pumping intense heat directly into the middle of the atmosphere, the 500 MB level. Guys, we've looked at that on NOAA wind many times, but the 597 DM heat dome traps this mountain-baked air. It squeezes it and forces it down into the valleys. There's no escape. Let's take a look at the numbers from Meade today, guys. This is accurate information. Started at midnight at 10:43:85. That means we are 3.85 feet. That's as of midnight. Let's go down. We're at 10:43:85. What they've done, guys, is if you look at 10:43:85, they were discharging a tremendous amount of water by cubic feet per second at 16,000. But now they have to do that because of peak demand, and not for any other reason. But what that does is when they start to lower the numbers, it kind of keeps it in the 1043 range. See that? Now in here, you went from 16,000, for instance, to 1,600 cubic feet. But at 1043.85, guys, that's 3.85 feet above the lowest records ever at Meade, and the pressure starts to decline. And that is 8.85 feet above 1035, where you lose about 80% of hydropower. And the numbers now, in the last video, we talked about Lake Meade and Lake Powell, guys, being at about a foot per week drop. And that has increased at Meade to 2.19 feet per 2 weeks, or 1.10 for 1 week drop. So that's increasing. Powell is holding steady, but the numbers are showing a big decline in upstream feed to both dams. And looking at Lake Powell, as of yesterday, guys, they're averaging 0.12 foot drop per day, but over the 14-day average, it's right under 2 feet. But look at this, your inflow is half of your output. You see that? So that's not going to last very long at all. Now, Meade, again, as of yesterday, was 43.89. Now it's 43.86.1 foot. But the 14-day average, again, is a little over 2 foot every 2 weeks. Now, inflow 7.470, outflow 12.421. The math just does not add up for this lasting very long. There's not much upstream feed coming into Powell from places like Flaming Gorge. And if we look at this average again at Meade, we were just at 2 feet the other day as 14-day measurements, but now Lake Meade is down minus 2.14 feet over these 14 measurements. And that's telling us that the drop is increasing. And when you look at that increasing by 1.4 in a few days, maybe 3 days over the 14-day average, it's quite significant. Guys, get prepped. Get you some water, backups, rainwater, regardless of what you think may be in it. It's better than the polluted groundwater. Also, a small solar system can run a 5,000 BTU. If that's all you can deal with, you can get into one room, keep it cool. It'll run your TV, laptop, phones, things like that, fan, and you stay alive. We're watching it, guys. We love you. Your Father loves you. It's a major heads up. Be safe. The updates will be coming.